Good evening and welcome to News Tonight, where we get you the biggest news and events through the day from across India and the world. I am Tina Jha. First, the headlines this Saturday evening. President Kovinds speaks the heart of the common man. His speeches provide an insight into the thoughts and inclusive vision of our country, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. Releases books on selected speeches of the President titled The Republican Ethic and Loktantra Ke Swar. Imran Khan admits role of Pakistani terrorists in 26/11 Mumbai attack. Tells US newspaper The Washington Post that resolving the case is in Pakistan's interest since it was an act of terror. Polling concludes peacefully for the 8th phase of the Jammu and Kashmir panchayat elections. Votes cast in 32 blocks of 13 districts of the state. Last phase of the election will be conducted on 11 December. In Hockey World Cup, India beat Canada 5-1 in their last league match. Belgium defeats South Africa 5-1. Both teams enter quarterfinals. And in the Adelaide Test, India 166 runs ahead in the second innings after dismissing host Australia for 235 runs. India end third day at 151 runs for 3. First innings centurion Cheteshwar Pujara at the crease on 40 runs. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday launched 2 books of selected speeches of President Ramnath Kovind titled The Republican Ethic and Loktantra Ke Swar. Addressing the event, the Vice President said that the President's range and depth of ideas is immense, and as head of the state, the first citizen of our robust republic, he represents the essence of the country and above all, essentially its ethos. Vice President Naidu also noted that President Kovind has always called for inclusiveness. The Vice President said that the President's vision and thoughts have covered a wide range of issues of national and international importance, with a special focus on the challenges which India faces in the contemporary world.
And when all the 4Ds
from his customary address to the joint sitting of the Parliament, to India's outreach to other nations, from science as a force multiplier to tax transparency, from skills for a new India to Indian cinema, the wide range of speeches delivered on different occasions provide an insight into the thoughts and inclusive vision of the President, whose heart always beats for the less privileged and weaker communities that live at the edge of poverty. The anti-defection law should be implemented in a letter and spirit expeditiously within 3 months. I know that it is absolutely feasible, since I could dispose of the petitions that I received within the time frame. Similarly, the integrity of the election process is essential for a healthy democracy. It would be ideal if the judiciary can expedite decisions on election petitions. If needed, special courts could be set up for dealing with election petitions.
Window phone and
On the occasion, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj said that the book focuses on democratic values of the country.
दोनों ही पुस्तकों में अपनी मौलिकता है और दोनों के बहुत ही सुंदर सारगर्भित नाम है, द रिपब्लिकन एथिक एंड लोकतंत्र के स्वर। निश्चय ही लोकतांत्रिक जीवन मूल्य, लोकतांत्रिक विवेक इन भाषणों का मूल स्वर है। मित्रों, हमारे लोकतंत्र का निर्माण समता और बंधुता के मूल्यों की बुनियाद पर हुआ है और ये मूल्य राष्ट्रपति जी के जीवन और कर्म को निरंतर प्रेरित करते रहे हैं। यही मूल्य हैं जिनसे ऊर्जा पाकर उत्तर प्रदेश में कानपुर देहात के गांव के कच्चे घर से उनकी यात्रा प्रारंभ हुई और आज वो विश्व के सबसे बड़े लोकतंत्र के राष्ट्रपति हैं। आज भी राष्ट्रपति उन जड़ों से जुड़े हुए हैं। उनके संबोधनों में ये संवेदनशीलता और राष्ट्र चेतना हमेशा प्रदर्शित होती है।
Prasar Bharati Chairman A. Surya Prakash also attended the event and said these books aren't just a compilation of the President's speeches, but also reflect his thoughts on India's diverse culture.
इस किताब को पढ़ा मुझे एहसास हुआ कि ये केवल भाषणों का संकलन नहीं है, परंतु हमारे भारत देश का सजीव चिंतन है। संक्षिप्त में कहना है तो आदरणीय राष्ट्रपति जी की मानवीयता और सरलता इस पुस्तक में देखने को मिलता है। एक व्यक्ति जो भारत के सर्वोच्च स्थान पर विराजमान है और नम्रता पूर्वक लोगों से बात करता है तो लोकतंत्र की प्रणाली मजबूत होना निस्संदेह है।
The books are a collection of 95 of the President's selected speeches out of a total of 243 speeches made by the President in the first year of his office. Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan on Saturday said that GST Council will decide when petrol and diesel could be brought under a GST regime. While addressing the second day of the Jagran Forum, Pradhan added that it is only because of the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi that even the oil-producing countries are listening to India's voice.
या ट्रंप की दबाव के कारण तेल की क्वांटिटी और प्राइस के ऊपर आप तय करने वाले हो? पूछता है वो ट्रंप के बारे में। दुनिया के सबसे बड़ा तेल उत्पादनकारी देश की मंत्री और ओपेक की एक प्रकार से मुखिया खलीदल फली उतर देते हैं। चलो उसको तो जो मानेंगे हम देखेंगे, लेकिन हमें भारत की प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की अपील को स्वीकार करना है। इन दिनों में प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कई अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच पे और उत्पादनकारी देश की लोग जब हमको मिलने आए, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक बार उनको बड़े नम्रता के साथ लेकिन बड़े आग्रह के साथ उनको एक चीज समझाने में सफल हुआ है।
BJP President Amit Shah addressed the Jagran conclave on Saturday. Shah exuded confidence of winning the recently held state assembly elections. He said the BJP will form the government in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh as well as Rajasthan and strengthen its position in Telangana and Mizoram. He said people of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh have appreciated the developmental work undertaken by the BJP governments in both states. He also asserted that the NDA government has put an end to corruption in the last 4.5 years. Amit Shah also claimed that the government at the centre is taking pro-people decisions which had been neglected by the previous governments.
70 साल तक मूलभूत समस्याओं को किसी ने एड्रेस नहीं किया। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार और अटल जी की सरकार अकेली ऐसी सरकार है जिन्होंने मूलभूत समस्याओं की ओर देश के खजाने को मोड़ा। जैसे जीडीपी को पहले उद्योगों के विकास के साथ ही जोड़ते हैं, मगर देश में जब 8 करोड़ शौचालय बनते हैं तो जीडीपी की बढ़ोतरी होती है या नहीं होती है? 2 करोड़ घर होते हैं, जीडीपी की बढ़ोतरी होती है या नहीं होती है? 19,000 अंधेरे गांवों में बिजली पहुंचती है, जीडीपी की बढ़ोतरी होती है या नहीं होती है? 2.5 करोड़ लोगों के घर में पहली बार बिजली पहुंचती है, जीडीपी की बढ़ोतरी होती है या नहीं होती है? ये सारी चीजों को हमने जीडीपी के साथ भी जोड़ा है और देश के गरीब से गरीब व्यक्ति को आगे बढ़ाने का, उसके जीवन स्तर को ऊपर लाने का काम किया है।
The Finance Ministry has extended the deadline for filing annual GST return forms by 3 months. The due date for filing returns under forms GSTR 9, GSTR 9A and GSTR 9B has been extended to 31st March 2019 from 31st December 2018. A statement by the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs said that the requisite forms shall be made available on the GST Common Portal shortly. The annual returns form, in which businesses registered under the GST have to provide consolidated details of sales, purchases and input tax credit benefits during 2017-18 fiscal, was notified in September. The last date for filing was set at 31st December this year, which has now been extended. Trade and industry players have been seeking an extension of the deadline for filing the annual returns for a long time now. The 8th phase of panchayat polls in Jammu and Kashmir concluded peacefully on Saturday. In Jammu division, over 80% polling was recorded in all the poll-bound districts. Kathua district recorded 84% polling, followed by 83.69% in Samba district. In the border district of Rajouri, 82.54% electorate exercised their franchise. 43 sarpanchs and 681 punts have been elected unopposed in this phase, while voting took place on the remaining 331 sarpanch and 2,007 panch halkas. 6,304 candidates were in the fray in this phase. And in a marked improvement in the security scenario in the Kashmir Valley, security forces eliminated over 230 terrorists this year. According to official figures, 2018 also saw a dip in injuries caused due to stone pelting. 51 terrorists were killed in the 80-day period from 25th June to 14 September. 85 terrorists were killed between 15 September and 5 December. 8 people, including security personnel, were killed between 25th June and 14 September, while 206 others were injured. From 15 September to 5 December, only 2 people, in fact just 2 people were killed and 170 others received injuries during stone pelting incidents. According to officials, security situation has improved significantly since the imposition of governor's rule in the state on 19th of June. However, as per the figures, 240 terrorists are still active in the Kashmir Valley. In a tragic accident in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir, 13 people, including 4 women, have been killed and 17 injured as a bus skidded off the road and fell into a deep gorge. The accident occurred at Plera in Mandi area. The driver of the 42-seater bus lost control over it and rolled down into a 100-meter gorge. The condition of 4 of the injured people is reported to be critical. They've been airlifted to the Government Medical College Hospital in Jammu for treatment. Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik expressed grief over the loss of lives in the accident. He also announced an ex gratia of 5 lakh rupees to the families of the deceased and 50,000 rupees to each injured person. The West Bengal unit of the BJP filed a caveat in the Supreme Court on Saturday in connection with the order passed by Calcutta High Court Division Bench on BJP's Rath Yatra. The West Bengal government will now have to give notice to the BJP if they move an application to the Supreme Court against the High Court bench order. The BJP delegation has also submitted letters to the Bengal government stating its readiness to join discussions over its Rath Yatra as directed by the Calcutta High Court a day ago. The Calcutta High Court had on Friday, in fact, the court came down heavily on the state government for not responding to BJP's letters seeking permission for its Rath Yatras in the state. The BJP was slated to hold 3 Rath Yatras starting 7 December from Cooch Behar, which were proposed to travel across all 42 Lok Sabha constituencies. A delegation from California Assembly met leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Nabi Azad, at the Parliament House on Friday. Deputy leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, Anand Sharma, was also present during the meeting. The 6-member delegation was led by Ash Kalera, an Indian-American Democratic State Assembly member in California. Ghulam Nabi Azad informed the Californian delegation about the Indian parliamentary system and functioning of the state assemblies. He said that the government's changed, but the foreign policy of the country remains stable. He added that in the present scenario, it is important for elected representatives of India as well as the US to share ideas and also visit each other's countries. Azad also praised this initiative by California Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon. Time for a short break, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
One of the most influential revolutionaries of Indian freedom struggle, Shaheed Bhagat Singh. Born into a Sikh family, patriotism flowed in his blood at the age of 13. When he formed Naujawan Bharat Sabha to spread the message of revolution in Punjab. In the wake of avenging Lala Lajpat Rai's death, Bhagat Singh and his associates coined the catchphrase Inqilab Zindabad. But towards the end of their rebellion, they had to pay a heavy price for their patriotism. Following the blasts inside the corridors of the assembly, both Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt courted arrest. Bhagat Singh was sent to the gallows in Lahore with his fellow comrades, after which he was cremated in Husainiwala on the banks of Satluj.
Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. Pakistan has finally accepted that the Mumbai terror attack was carried out by terrorists from its soil. The acceptance has come from none other than the country's Prime Minister himself, Imran Khan. In an interview to the Washington Post, Khan also said that he has asked for the status of the case being heard in an anti-terrorism court in Pakistan.
More than 10 years after the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai, a Pakistani Prime Minister has for the first time acknowledged that the attack was an act of terror engineered from Pakistani soil. In an interview, the Washington Post asked Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan about the Mumbai terror attack, in which mastermind Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi has got bail, and the trial is dragging on for 6 other suspects. Imran Khan replied, and I quote, "We also want something done about the bombers of Mumbai. I have asked our government to find out the status of this case. Resolving that case is in our interest because it was an act of terrorism." Indian Army has repeatedly presented evidence of Pakistan's involvement in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attack. Despite this, Pakistan has failed to bring the culprits to justice.
We know who did it. I don't think we have to get any more statements from anybody. The whole international community knows who did it. Acceptance is good, but I don't think even without the acceptance, we knew who had done it.
जहाँ तक हमारा सवाल है, हमने शुरू से ही माना है कि जो आतंकवादी हमले उस समय हुए थे, उसके अंदर पाकिस्तान का हाथ है. तो उन्होंने कोई नई चीज़ नहीं बताई है. मैं केवल यही चाहूँगा कि अगर उन्होंने इसका स्वीकार किया है तो ज़रूरी है कि जो लोग भी इसके अंदर आतंकवादी हमलों के अंदर शामिल थे, जिन्होंने उनका समर्थन दिया, उन सबको कानून के धारे के अनुसार कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए.
But even as Pakistan continues to drag its feet on the issue of terror, it has had to face tough action from the US. Most of the US grants to Pakistan that were used to maintain terror sanctuaries have been stopped. Pakistan has also come under scrutiny of the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF. It has been put on the grey list for money laundering and terrorist funding.
Actually, in the first week of January, FATF team is going to visit Pakistan to see how Pakistan has acted against terror funding. Much of Pakistan's financial future will also depend on the report of FATF. And this might be one of the reasons while Imran Khan is trying to show that he is tough on terror.
Meanwhile, Pakistan's economy continues to be in distress. Imran Khan is seeking assistance to afford essential imports and current accounts payments. While all-weather friend China has denied help with cash, the International Monetary Fund has asked Pakistan how it will use its assistance if it is given. In this context, Imran Khan's statement seems an overture to the world community. But India will prefer to wait and see if Imran Khan will back his words with actions. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
India's foreign exchange reserves rose by $932.8 million to to $393.718 billion in the week till November 30th. According to the RBI, the increase in forex is mainly due to a rise in foreign currency assets. Expressed in US dollars, foreign currency assets include the effect of appreciation or depreciation of non-US currencies such as the euro, pound and yen held in the reserves. Gold reserves also rose by $151.8 million to $21.150 billion in the reporting week. Forex reserves had touched a record high of over $426 billion in the week to April 13 this year, but have been on a slide since then. India has retained its position as the world's top recipient of remittances for the third year in a row. According to a latest report by the World Bank, $80 billion in remittances were channeled to India in 2018, which is in continuation of significant flow of remittances in the last 2 years. India registered $62.7 billion in remittances in 2016 and $65.3 billion in 2017. Remittance inflow constituted 2.7% of India's GDP in 2017. India is followed by China, Mexico, the Philippines and Egypt. The World Bank in its report also said global remittances are projected to grow by 10.3% to $689 billion. More than half of the global population is now online. According to United Nations Agency for Information and Communication Technologies, an estimated 3.9 billion people are now using the internet. The UN agency also estimates that internet use is expected to cover 51.2% of the global population by the end of this year. While the world's richest countries have shown slow and steady growth in internet use at 80.9% in 2018 from 51.3% in 2005, the gains have been more dramatic in developing countries, where 45.3% of the people are currently online, compared to just 7.7% back in 2005. And in some tragic news, at least 6 people were killed and dozens injured in a stampede at a rap concert in a nightclub in Italy on Saturday. The victims include 5 people under the age of 18 and an adult woman. Media reports suggest suspected use of a pepper spray-like substance sparked the chaos at the venue in the town of Corinaldo near Ancona in central Italy. Around 1,000 people were inside the club when the stampede occurred. Officials said 14 of the injured were in a critical condition. And on to some sports news now. Cheteshwar Pujara was once again the star of India's batting effort as the visitors moved into a strong position against Australia on the third day of the first test in Adelaide. Cheteshwar Pujara on 40 and Ajinkya Rahane on 1 were at the crease. KL Rahul made 44 runs and captain Virat Kohli 34. At stumps, India were 151 for 3, extending their overall lead to 166 runs. Kohli became the 4th Indian batsman after Sachin Tendulkar, VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid to score 1,000+ runs in Test cricket against Australia. Rishabh Pant took 6 catches during Australia's first innings to equal predecessor Mahendra Singh Dhoni's record of most catches by an Indian wicketkeeper in Test innings. Earlier, responding to India's first innings total of 250, Australia were all out for 235 to give the visitors a 15-run lead after rain delayed the start of proceedings this morning. And India thrashed Canada 5-1 to book a direct entry into the quarterfinals of the Hockey World Cup 2018. A 4-goal blitz in the final quarter gave India a commanding win in the last Pool C match of the tournament. At the end of the third quarter, the scores were 1-1, but goals from Harmanpreet Singh, Shinglen Sana Singh, Lalit Upadhyay and Amit Rohidas clinched the match for India. In another Pool C match, Belgium defeated South Africa again 5-1. South Africa had a promising start with Nick Spooner scoring a goal within the opening minutes. However, the European giants fought back and scored 4 goals in the first 2 quarters. After the 2 matches, India is now at the top of the pool. India finished with 7 points in the pool, same as Belgium, but India has a goal difference of +9 in comparison to Belgium's +5. And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for your time.